Good morning, good morning, good morning. Come on in here. Come on in here. Come on in the room to do. Come on in the room. Come on in here. When you get in here, comment, like, share, let somebody know we are on the air. Let somebody know on the air. Sounds old fashioned. We are live. Let somebody know we're live. Um, Good morning, good morning, good morning. Great morning. Where we at? Where we at? I be wanting to interact with the Instagram people as well, but I don't know how to get on there and see comments and stuff. Good morning, good morning. Give it a few more minutes. Get on in here. Come on in here. We live, we live, we live. Well, maybe it shows that I'm live on Instagram. I don't know. Good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning, bro. Good morning, John. Let's see here. I'll give it about 30 more seconds, y'all. I'm going dead in. I'm going alive in. I'm dead in. Good morning. Good morning. Tune in. Tune in. Don't page watch. Tune in. Tune in. Tune in. All right. Let's get started. First of all, good morning to everybody watching. Good morning to all those that will watch this rebroadcast. I appreciate you for tuning in. Appreciate you for tuning in to Motivated Mornings. This is a platform was designed with the intent to motivate others to get after their next, whatever that next is, whatever you're going after. It's time to go after it. Not just to sit back, not just to expect it to come, fall in the lap, but it's time to go after it. And so, Motivated Mornings was designed to do that. Help motivate you to get on to it. Good morning, Jamil. Good morning. What I wanted to talk to you guys about today is this right here. I wanted to talk about dig deep. Dig deep. It is not. It is not uh, enough just to be surface level with this thing. You got to dig deep. I was watching where this came from. I was watching the greatest quarterback of all times in an interview. Uh, my my buddy Tom Brady was in an interview, and he was talking about digging deep, and it pricked my heart in such a way. I just wanted to talk to you about it as well. It is time to dig deep. It's time to really go after what you're after, not just be settling and content with what you've experienced thus far, but it's time to go to another level, and that requires you to dig deep. You cannot afford to just stay where you are. You know that it has not gotten you the results that you want, so you got to dig deep. Why do I need to dig deep? It's time to dig deep because where I've been digging at, I've already explored that. Where you're currently at, you've explored that to the max. What's up, bro? What's up, Wes? My condolences. You've already exposed that. You've exposed everything that you're dealing with at the current time. You know how it is. You know how it goes. You know all about that. But it's time to dig deep. because we're leaving a lot on the table because we are surface dwellers. We're leaving a lot on the table because we're simply surface dwellers. We don't have, we have not. We have not tapped into what we need to have because we have just been at the surface. You've been surface with your approach. You've been surface with uh, your intelligent knowledge of the thing. You have not gone deep. It's a lot to just be in the shallow waters. It's a lot because there's a lot of people there. There's a lot of people in the shallow waters. If you go to a swimming pool and you go to a public pool, have you noticed that most of the activity is at the shallow end? Most of the activity is at the shallow end. It's not at the deep end. You have a few at the deep end. You have a lot of people that trying to adventure and go further. There's a few over there, but there's a lot of people at the shallow end. Nobody is really at the deep end because the deep end takes courage. The deep end. Good morning, Amber. The deep end takes some courage. It takes some thought. It takes some stick to it. The deep end requires more of you because at the shallow end, your feet can get it done. You can rely on what you used to rely on. If it seems like it's overwhelming, all you got to do is stand up and you're in the shallow end. But when you're in the deep end, your feet don't no longer work. Are y'all following me? Your feet never work. It no longer work in the deep end. When you're in the shallow end, you feel like something is too much. You can just stand up and then you know you're all right. But if you're in the deep end, when you get in trouble in the deep end, that's why the lifeguards are positioned more on that side because you can get in trouble in the deep end. But this deep end I'm talking about, there's no trouble here. The only trouble is you because you've been satisfied with the shallow end. And everybody is at the shallow end. It's just kind of like the old school 49ers. That went all the way out there to dig for gold and do all this. Well, the part where, when by the time you learned of the gold and you got there was already somebody there that already dug right there. So when you coming up and you digging for the gold in those same areas, you're getting little bits and pieces. You're not getting everything that you want. You're not getting everything that you're going after. You're only getting a little here and a little there. We're tricking ourselves into believing that, hey, it's that or that. But the whole reality of it is this, that that place that you're digging at, the place that you have been trying to get what you got to get out of life, that place is shallow and somebody else has digged there before. That's been dug out. The real gold is gone out of that place. And it's too many people there. Back to the pool, it's too many people in that shallow end for you to think that it's going to be worth your while. But the reason why you got to go into the deep end is because the deep end is untapped. You have more untapped potential. You got more in you, but it requires you to go off into the deep. You got to figure out what you're made. You're gonna figure out what you're made of in the deep. Because it requires more. You got to develop skill now. Where it used to be your legs could get you out of the situation and your legs could help you in the situation. Now you got to use your arms. You got to use strategy. You got to know how to float. You got to know how to swim. You got to know how to do all these different things, and those require you to build skill. It requires you to build a different skill. And this is the reason why we've not tapped into the potential that we have, because we ain't been developing skill. We've been content with what we've already know. You've been content with where you already are. You've been content in that mode. You've been content in that lifestyle, that mindset. But the thing about it is, it's not serving you the way it needs to serve you. And the reason why it's not serving you is because you've not dived into the deep. You've been content with where you are. And so you're leaving on the table a lot of untapped potential. There's more in you. There's more fight in you. There's more success in you. There's more victories in you. But because you aren't courageous enough to go off into the deep, you settle for the shallow waters. You're not experiencing the victories that you want to experience. Yeah, you get some victories because you can still use your legs and you can still stand up and you can still do those things. But the thing about it is, you want to experience real victory, you got to go to the deep. You gotta begin to go to the deep. And when you go to the deep, you'll find out that there's more in you. You'll find out that you didn't know you could swim, but now you can swim. And you didn't know that you could still learn at the age you're at, but you can still learn. You can still develop. You can still grow. But because you stay over there, everybody down there has scratched the surface. Everybody scratched the surface. Check the move. Everybody has scratched the surface. But not everybody's going to the deep, because deep requires you to step outside of the box. It requires you to step outside the norm. Notice everybody is at the shallow end of the pool, but not so many people are at the deep, because it requires you to step outside of what everybody else is doing. You got to quit doing what everybody else is doing, because when you're doing what everybody else is doing, you're going to get the results that everybody else is getting. I went on my social media platforms last night and I just began to delete. I began to do all these different things because I know that my mind is going to take me where I need to go. So I need to make sure that what's being fed to my mind is something that I can grow from, something that I can get out of. I can get something out of it. And the only way I'm going to get something out of it is I got to make sure that what I'm feeding is something that's going to cause me to grow. And so I begin to delete some stuff that ain't going where I'm going. That's you got to quit tricking yourself to think that you can feed yourself anything and then you can get the results you want. It's just like your normal body. You can't feed yourself all these sweets and treats and all these unhealthy things and then expect to have a fit and a firm body. You can't have that. It's not possible, because what you're putting in doesn't suggest where you're trying to go. And that's what you got to be real with. You got to be real with yourself. What am I putting in? What am I giving myself to grow with? What am I giving myself to use? What am I giving myself? What kind of tools am I giving myself? And the tools that we begin ourselves are the tools on the surface. And I want to tell somebody else that been getting those low hanging fruits, because you've been manipulated by your own emotions. You've been manipulated. You've been blinded by your own emotions in the situation, because you've allowed those low hanging fruit to be what you go after. But I'm reminded of a scripture that says that you're not to look. You're not. Don't be looking at these surface things. Don't be looking. Don't be. He said, set your affections on things above, not on things below. Set your affections on things above. You've been doing too much of the below stuff. And you've been taking the anger, and you've been taking the hurt. You've been taking all those are low hanging fruits. You've been taking all those things, and you've been. The morning says you've been suggested that these are things are what you need, and you've been forfeiting what you're supposed to have. That's the thing. You've been forfeiting what you're supposed to have, and because you've been forfeiting, now you're leaving a legacy of forfeiters. You're leaving too much on the table. Leave nothing on the table. This time, go get it all. That you're gonna make up in your mind. I'm not surface no. I'm not going after the surface no more. I'm going after the deep, because I realize this: some people in the deep, they having more fun than I'm having over here. They having way more fun over there in the deep than I'm having over here. They're experiencing way more victories than I'm having over here. Why? Because everybody where you are is just surface level. They're not worried about next. They're not worried about tomorrow. They're not considering their future. They're not considering where they want to go. All they're doing is taking the day as it comes to them. Good morning, sis. I got all my sisters on here. Good morning. Happy Valentine's to you guys. I love you all. Happy Valentine's Day. But yeah, we cannot be surface minded. Everybody scratched that surface. Everybody is dug there. The real jewels are not there. The real benefits that you want to have are not there. They've been when you go to a store and the racks look like everybody don't went through, they've been picked through. That's the saying they do. The shallow water, the shallow places that you've been trying to scratch, they've been picked over. Ain't no real gems in there. Ain't no real gems in there. You've been picking your mate on the surface side, on the surface side. Ain't no real gems on the surface side. Everybody done been over there. They washed up, used up, picked through, huh? But you got to go over into the deep. It's gonna cost you something. It's gonna cost you because you got to learn more skill. It's gonna cost you because you can't rely on what you used to rely on. Yeah. It looks uncomfortable at first, but once you master the art of swimming, the deep no longer looks. It doesn't look taunting. It doesn't look like it's too much that you can handle. But when you master the swimming technique, when you master the different skills that you need to have, you can begin to stop being surface level and you can go off the deep. I want to let you know that the real riches are in the deep. They ain't in the surface. They ain't in the surface. Scratching the surface ain't doing nothing for you. That ain't getting you nowhere. The real riches are in the deep. The real riches, what you're really after, it's in the deep. It's not in the surface. Everybody is at the shallow end of the pool. I'm gonna give you the description again. Everybody is at the shallow end of the pool. Nobody is at the deep end. There's hardly no people at the deep end. The reason why is because you can be comfortable in the shallow end, but it requires you to be alert on the deep end. See, we don't want to use the tools we've been given. We don't want to use the tools that we need, or develop the skills that need to happen for us to be in the deep. That's why we're comfortable we're comfortable in the shallow. You got to step outside of your comfortability. I'll give the analogy again about the new pair of shoes. You got to break them in. At first, it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to cost you something, but you can't afford to stay there. Good morning, bro. You can't afford to stay there. Everybody's there. Do you really expect to get everything you want out of life staying where you are? You can't get that. You're not going to get it. But the real riches, and I'm not just talking about finances, but the real riches where you develop your own self and you can find out who you really are. You're going to find out that in the deep end. You ain't finding out nothing in the shallow end. All you got to use your feet, stand up, and you out of it. But the deep end is going to cost you. You got to know how to wade water. You got to know how to float. You got to know how to swim. You got to know all these other techniques that you have not. You've been put on pause and you left them. You left them. Why? Because you left you ain't unlocked yourself and your potential. You left too much on the table. You left way too much on the table, and you can profit from what you left on the table. Because you got potential. You got the ability to be powerful in the area, but you gotta go to that area. You can't work on swimming in the shallow end. You ain't gonna develop that skill that you need to have in the shallow end. It's in the deep where you gonna learn it. Where you gotta learn it. The deep is it's time to put up or shut up in the deep. Oh, I can swim. Everybody talk about they can swim in the shallow end. Everybody. Have you ever noticed that? Everybody can swim in the shallow side. Because they tricking you. They doing this on the water, but underneath they moving their feet. I remember when we used to have swim contests. It was on the shallow side. You think you can beat me swimming? That's because you only using your hand. I'm using my legs too. Everybody can swim in the shallow end. But who's going down there to the deep end saying they're going to swim? Huh? Let's have our swimming contest on the deep end. Where you can't get tired in the middle of the deep end. You got to continue. That's where you're going to learn your fortitude. That's where you're going to have that tenacious spirit that you need to have. It's going to be learned in the deep end. Because you can't afford to give up halfway through the deep end because you're going to sink. Huh? And I want to let you know, even though it's in the natural swimming pool, there's a lifeguard, and this one you are your own lifeguard. So you need to develop your skills, your tools, and all the things you need to have. You need to have that developed when you get out in that deep end, because there may not be somebody there to save you, or maybe the lifeguard is distracted. So you got to develop them tools. You got to develop your skill. Quit relying on what you used to rely on. Develop something new. In order for you to get something new, you got to do something different. You got to do something new. Unlock yourself. Quit putting yourself in that same box and in that same territory where all you can do is do this. Everybody's putting you in that box. Everybody's putting it exactly, bro. Elevation requires separation. You cannot go anywhere unless you separate. Huh? Even the Bible speaks to that. He said, I want you to bear more fruit. What I'm going to do? Purge it. I'm cutting some off. How does that even make any sense? But the Bible says when he wants you to grow, when he wants you to bear more fruit, he purges you. He cuts some other stuff off. You need to cut some stuff off of your life that ain't going where you going. Cut some stuff off of your life that ain't lining up with your future, ain't lining up with your destiny. You know what you after, and you know what you got to cut off because it can't go with you. Quit taking all that baggage and think you can get there. You think you can wear 200 pounds of weight and go swim in the deep? It ain't possible. You got to rid yourself of that weight so you can be able to be effective in the deep. But unlock yourself. Put yourself outside of that box. Get out that box that you put your own self in. This self-sabotaging box that you only can do this because you only putting up with this. You only experiencing this. You need to go get you a book this week. You need to make up in your mind, I'm gonna unlock this potential, because it's not enough. It's not enough to have potential. It's time to walk it out. Potential is not good. I want to let y'all know. I know we've been suggested that it's good to have potential, but potential just means you sitting on something you can't have. You sitting on something you should have, but you can't have because you sitting on it. It's time to walk it out. It's time to realize that potential. It's time to make that thing manifest. It got to show itself. If I got the potential, if I got the ability, if it's in there somewhere, it can come out. It can be seen. Well, now it's time to see the potential. It's time to make it a reality. Instead of it just being potential, it's time to make that thing a reality. It's never good to die with potential. Never. Right, bro? Nothing without follow. Nothing without walking it out. You got to begin to walk this thing out so you can see what you need to see. It's time to dig deep. Quit being surface level. Quit being surface with it. Everybody's at the surface. Like I said, everybody's at the shallow end of the pool. Who's at the deep? It's time for you to dig deep. Quit looking at what you've been having. Quit looking at what you've been getting. And time to dig deep. Dig deeper. Go get something more. It's more in you. But it's untapped. It's untapped because you've been settling for surface. It's untapped because you've been settling for what everybody else has. And that's why you're getting frustrated, because you're at an end where you can't even spread your wings out. You can't even have fun like you want us to have fun because you're around too many people. You're crowded. Even though you can have the best soil, you can have the most enriched soil, but if you plant something too close to another thing, they will starve each other out. You've been starved because you where everybody is. You got to go to the deep. Quit starving when you can have your choice of what you want in the deep. You starving because everybody fighting over the kibbles and bits in the shallow. Huh? Everybody fighting over the kibbles and bits in the shallow. But it's time to dig the deep. It's time to dig deep so we can get what we want. When you go deep, you get what you want. It ain't what they offer you. It ain't what they told you can have. What they suggested to you. It ain't about that. It's about what I want now. Because I'm only stunted as far as I stunt myself. Your growth is only stunted as far as you stunted yourself. You have the potential. You have the capability to do whatever you need to do. But you will only go as far and to the degree that you have chosen, this is what I want. This is what I'm going after. That's what happens in the deep. In the shallow, they pick where you go. In the shallow, they pick what you get. But in the deep, you get what you want because it's up to you. It's up to you. How bad do you want it? How bad do you really want it? Do you really want this thing, or you kind of sort of want it? It's looking like you kind of sort of want it. Based on what you've been doing in the past, you kind of sort of want it. But when you dig deep, you get out there like Peter. You say, "You walking on water, Jesus? Hey, if you can walk on it, I can walk on it." Huh? But one thing about it was he lost focus when he got out there. And this is what I want to tell y'all before when you're going out to the deep. Don't lose focus. It's tragic when you lose focus in the deep. But good thing he had Jesus that could see him a mile away, lifted up his hand and saved him. Huh? I want you to know, don't lose focus when you get out there in the deep. You got to stay focused on whatever you was looking at before you got out the boat. You got to keep your eyes on it. Huh? You got to keep your eyes on it. Keep focused. You're going to see it. You're going to realize it. The very thing that was troubling them. These people in the boat, they in the boat with the disciples, and they tormented by the waves and the storm. They were tormented by it. And the same thing that was tormenting them, Jesus came walking on. I know this motivated morning, but I go to church. You're going to hear it. But the very thing that tormented them, Jesus came walking on. Letting you know that the thing that's stopping you, I conquered. And if I conquered it, you can conquer it. But the thing is, you want to stay in the boat. Get out the boat. It's time to launch into the deep. Step out on some faith on some stuff. Quit trying to just have all the everything ain't gonna be all in the right place and in the right order for you to get it done. Sometimes you're gonna have to walk out on faith. You don't see the next step, but just step. And trust that God got you. Because he does. He wants to see. He said, I will that you prosper and be in health even as your soul prosper. So the fact that you're going backwards and you decreasing and you debasing yourself is not of God. But when you go forward and when you press forward and you go out and launch into the deep, now you walking on faith. That's what he said. That's what I've been wanting you to do from the get-go. I've been wanting you to get out here. I've been wanting you to get out here. It's more out here. It's more out here. Huh? What's this? He said, don't depend. Let me show y'all what these people said. He said, don't depend on hope. Depend on the will of the Lord gave us. Dig deep inside. Come on. Get uncomfortable to really get comfortable. Huh? Y'all better understand something here. It's time to dig deep. I hope this blessed you. I hope this gave you some motivation this morning. I hope it did what we were purposed to do. This is what the show is designed to do. I hope it charged you. If it did, if it blessed you, if it helped you, share it with somebody else. Share it with somebody else. Don't just allow this to be for you. Help somebody else. Share the video, comment, tag a friend, share it with somebody else. Let somebody else know that it's time. It's time to dig deep. No more surface level. No more surface level. You're welcome, bro. Love you too, sis. It's no more surface level. It's time to dig deep. Let somebody else know that potential they have is nothing until they walk it out. Let's walk out this potential. Let's quit leaving it untapped, and let's begin to make it a reality. I hope it bless you again. Have the most amazing day. It's Valentine's Day. Love on somebody. I don't care if they didn't choose you. Choose them. Love on somebody. Love conquers all. Love on somebody. Get to where you're going. Check some stuff off the list. Like I said, go get a book. Read. Develop them skills so you can get to the deep. All right, I'll see y'all tomorrow. Y'all be blessed.